Cain Marco, son of scientist Carl Marco, was a thick-headed and self-centered delinquent. He was the child of Carl Marco's first marriage and had been away at a boarding school when Brian Xavier died in an accident and when Carl married Sharon Xavier for fortune. When he first shows up at Xavier Mansion just before the death of Sharon Xavier, he does so because his boorish attitude and disrespect for authority figures got him expelled. After Sharon was gone, and both Cain and the young Charles Xavier were left in the care of Carl Marco, Cain accused his father of killing Brian Xavier and attempted to blackmail a chunk of the Xavier fortune out of him. This argument would grow heated, and Charles would overhear. When he demanded answers, Cain could only see Xavier getting between him and the money he demanded, and threw a rack of tubes and chemicals at Xavier in an effort to drive him away. However, these chemicals would have an explosive reaction, and Carl would sacrifice himself to save the two boys. With no will in place, the Xavier fortune defaulted back to Charles. And while he and Cain would still grow up together in the mansion, Cain would get jealous. This was especially so when Xavier's mutant powers developed and he kept winning trophies and awards while he worked out what was going on. This jealousy would drive Cain to irrational violence on more than one occasion, but he never intended to actually kill Xavier over the money and accolades. In the 1950s, things would change. Xavier and Cain were drafted into the Korean War and would serve together. But when Cain found a hidden shrine of the entity Cyttorak, he ignored Xavier's warnings and the inscriptions written all over the shrine to get his hands on a massive ruby. The moment Cain touched the ruby, he was cursed. And as it changed Cain, Xavier could feel the evil and darkness overtaking his stepbrother. So much so that he was sure Cain Marco was gone, and all that was left was a vile and terrible being. Instead of trying to save Cain from himself, when the cave was bombed heavily by the war happening outside, and it started to collapse, Xavier left Cain there, to die or to be buried alive. It took him until 1965, but Cain, now the Juggernaut, would find his way home.